The Supreme Legacy. What? Dun dun dun. The Supreme. What's up, people? Oh, I messed up. Oh, Aegis node. No. Well, I haven't gotten much done of this fight, have I? Jeez. Well, that was a battle. How about that? What's up, everybody? The live stream started right as that fight started, and that was really crazy. Okay. Let me turn that down just a little bit. Dang, welcome to war. How's everybody doing? I got a new dongle today, and hopefully it works really well. Nothing like a good working dongle. You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't have any more issues. So yeah, I'm thinking we'll just start this off by my normal checking into Alliance Quest. And then we'll get right into some Act 4 beta. Act 6 Part 4 beta. I really want to take a look at every chapter and kind of come up with some ideas on what we can do and what kind of champions I'm going to need when it actually is released. What's up, Colby? How you doing, man? Good to see you, bro. Everybody loves a good dongle. It's very important that you keep your dongle in good working order. I let my old dongle get away from me a little too long. It's a little bit of a runaway dongle. Now I've tightened that little battle area down and it's good. That dongle's going nowhere. 5,000. It's weird, right? Isn't that a weird feeling when that dongle just gets away from you? You're on break at work? That's good, man. That's good. Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes it happens. Okay, here we go. We're gonna back all the way out. We're gonna go right into Act 6 Beta. Let's see. I always like to check who needs help. Okay, Act 6 Beta. Shall we participate? Oh, snap. What color's my drink today? Oh, pink. I apologize for that. Hydrate, folks. Stay hydrated. That's what it's all about. If I have one piece of advice, is that you hydrate daily. Test of the Cavalier, eh? They gave me units for this, huh? It still blows me away how different the Act 6 is, how different the betas are. You can still open all this stuff. There's no point to it, though. I don't even have enough units. I could open up 2 premiums in or 1 premium in beta. That's very weird. Okay, let's dive right into it. Let's take a look at some of these nodes here. We did Act 6, Part 4, Quest 1 last week. But let's take a look. I have my handy dandy notebook, and this is how I break down new content, man. I want to see what's happening. I want to break it down quest by quest. Let's go over here on the bottom, and we'll work counterclockwise. So maybe I should just say, this game is called Marvel Contest of Champions. It's like Street Fighter, but with you know, Marvel guys, or Mortal Kombat with Marvel. It's good, man. It's a good game. Download it if you have an iPhone or Android. You can download it. New stuff is released every month, and sometimes multiple things are released in a month. Right now, we're doing a beta test for like some end game content that is coming out in the next month or two, and this is all new nodes. These are all new. Most of these are new nodes that we're. That's why I want to go over them quest by quest and take a look at what we have. So that's exactly what we're going to do here tonight. We're going to take a look at all these nodes. I want to kind of come up with ideas of what champions I'm going to need, what champions could be good counters for these nodes. So if you're thinking about going to Act 6, this is the last little bit of it. This is part 4. It's probably going to be the hardest, and you're probably definitely going to need some specific champions, and those champions I want to figure it out. It's really cool to be a part of a beta because it kind of gets you the ability to plan ahead, and that is what we're going to do this evening. Matter of fact, let's do this. Let's go through. Let's just start going through it. We are on 6.4.2 right now. Long distance relationship, aggression, precision, and Godslayer. So none of these nodes are fairly new, and I'm under the assumption that most people who are watching this are familiar with a lot of these nodes, but this is pretty much a typical Cavalier level of difficulty path. There doesn't seem anything to be crazy about that. Granted, this is also a quick look. I'm sure there's going to be a few fights that are a little nuts. For instance, long distance relationship. Do I see anybody that requires to be fighting up close? Not really. No, Domino's always a tricky fight. Okay, Force of Will and Static Blast. What's up, brother? How you doing, man? Just checking out some of these unique nodes for 6.4. Static Blast. An aura of electricity drains 50% of the attacker's power whenever the defender launches a special attack. Special attacks power burn 100% of the attacker's power. Blocking the special attack reduces half the power burn damage by half. I think I looked at this the other night, and I was curious if any of that does actual damage, or if it's just whenever they throw a special, it burns your power, and then when you throw a special, it burns all of your power. Typhoon. Whenever the defender activates a special attack, they place a passive ion pulse. At 10 charges, the attacker has power burn for 100% of their power. So, I don't know. This seems like... and there's no power shield, so it seems like you're going to be losing a lot of power in this on this lane, which is not too crazy, because that's never going to lock you out of being able to do damage. If you don't have a power shield node, then it doesn't matter if you can't throw specials in a fight, because you can most of your damage in a regular fight anyways probably comes from your critical hits. Okay, not too bad. Going counterclockwise, we're going to look at this Joe Fixit lane. Is that split off to 2 lanes? Nope, it stays on 1 lane. Okay. Crit me with your best shot is not a fun node. That was bad in variant 4. That was very rough. I couldn't rank Sunspot and Beta because I had no tier 1 alpha for some reason. Weird. Could only use a rank up gem. This defender takes 100% less damage from hits that are not critical. Boof. That is a pain. That is a tough lane right there. Tunnel vision. When the attacker performs the same action twice in a row, they do not have a falter buff. Oh, this is like the Mixmaster node. This is where the tunnel vision is, where you can't use the same attack twice in a row, otherwise they'll evade it. So you have to basically parry, medium, light, medium, heavy, whatever you have to do. You have to switch it up. It can't be parry, medium, light, light, or parry, medium, medium, which is my move with Corvus, because they'll just evade it. And then critical setup, what is that? Well, when the attacker ends a combo with the same attack they ended their previous combo with, the attack is guaranteed critical hit. Okay, so that almost completely wipes out the real concern I had with crit me with your best shot, because you can parry medium, light, medium, and get through this entire lane unless there's somebody that will mess it up for you. That Korg's going to be an interesting fight. It's going to be hard. The Annihilus is going to be a hard fight. The Sentinel's going to get a lot of his charges. He's going to jack himself way up against you, because you're going to be doing a lot of the same moves over and over again. But that's going to be the hard fight. Because once he gets his analysis charges, man, you do not get... you don't get any critical hits against him, really. His crit resistance is through the roof. That you might have to have Corvus for, or a crit team. But even that's not terrible. Okay, we're going around the room counterclockwise. We're going to go to Medusa. Let's see what we got. The best defense 1. Defender gains plus 20% evade and auto block ability accuracy. Triggering evade or auto block guarantees grants the defender 10% of a bar of power. Well, she certainly has. Auto block. After activating a special attack, the defender becomes unstoppable. and has 25% a chance to evade for 7 seconds. So you just bring a True Strike. Bring True Strike, because Spry is another evade node. Okay. Bring a True Strike champion, so Killmonger. Who else? Any of them. Even Heimdall's a True Strike champion. Or anti-evade champion. Iceman will probably work. You just, after that, still have to watch out for auto blocks with anti-evade champs. I don't see anything super crazy. That Iron Man Infinity War is not going to be great. Here is... What about local nodes? So this local node on the Spider-Man, Miles Morales, is gassed. And that means every time he evades, you get a fatigue debuff, and then you take a bunch of damage. That is not a... That's a little brutal. But he's the only one with the... He's the only one with the local node, so that's good. And then here comes this lane. Shock debuffs deal 25% more damage. And then the more tech champions you have, the longer the debuffs are. But what's the regular node? Okay, let's check that out. Vitality Rush. Whichever champion starts the fight with a greater percentage of their total health gains a % attack bonus equal to the difference between their health and the percentage of the champions of the opponents. So you want to go into all these fights with full health. Otherwise, they will gain a little bit more attack, which is not a crazy node. Stung once, twice shy. When you gain a bar of power, you get a power sting debuff for 6 seconds. So every time you gain a bar of power, just don't throw a special for 6 seconds. Static blast. Didn't we just see this? You'll be losing a lot of power for some reason. Okay, so if you plan on not throwing, you plan on healing up and not throwing any sort of specials, you should be fine. Or as long as you watch that 6-second timer and so you don't get hit with a power sting, you should be fine. Looks like you're gonna have an issue dealing with power in the first place. And that leads us to the boss. So 6.4.2 doesn't look like there's gonna be too much that's out of the way of insanity. Oh, I hate this prove yourself node. All special attacks are unblockable. Power efficiency. Oof. Aspect of death. Okay, so basically all the nodes on this 4, it basically means he's going to be throwing specials more often. Once he has a bar of power, he can throw that special more often than not because it's not going to drain nearly as much power as it should. All of his specials are unblockable, and after he throws a special, you can't parry because the moment he touches you, you die. That's aspect of death. Even on a block. So, and then prove yourself, you have to get a 15-hit combo before you can start doing damage to him. Power control. I had written some notes down that we were going to actually take some notes about this 6.4.2. I really didn't see anything too crazy. Let's 6.4.3. Let's check this out. All right, where do I go? Okay. We're just going to go from the top to the bottom. Because it looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lanes. Okay, 6 lanes. Let's go top and the bottom. Except these all have local nodes. Oh boy. Okay, none of these local nodes look really crazy though. They all kind of look like obvious things. Like if it's a bleed champion, enhanced bleed. Void has the ability to hurt you while charging. Hurt you or gain fury. Yeah, gain fury. So he has basically the Hulk synergy. Okay, not a problem. I generally don't worry about local nodes unless the lane was designed to be difficult according to the local node, and then you have to. Sometimes it's very clear that you have to bring champions and base it around each individual fight based on the local nodes. But this doesn't look like it's anything crazy. It'll be whatever champion it is. It looks like they're just added a node in there to have a little bit more amped up version of whatever that champion is. True Strike and Aggression Cruelty. Well, that is a pretty straightforward path if I don't say so myself. Power gain and special bias. The defender is more likely to activate a special 3 first, then special 2 and special 1. The only thing I can say about this is if you and then increase power gain. If you have a power control champion, you should be fine. If you don't, I would bring in someone who has a taunt ability. Stark Spidey, Emma Frost, somebody like that. Nothing too crazy. Let's check some of the local nodes real quick. That's global. Enhanced crit. Let's see this Warlock. He gets more infections. Medusa. Enhanced armor break. Yeah, so they're just more. They're like extra versions of those champs. Okay, here we go. I'm curious about the local nodes on this next lane. If it is just there's double nodes, so it looks like they're making them sort of extra versions of themselves. So the local nodes get a little bit more difficult. Extra armor up. Poison and armor break immunity. So that's nothing you need to really worry about. Okay. Stunning reflection. At the start of the fight, the defender receives a permanent stun shield. While this shield is active, the defender can't be stunned. Every time a stun is attempted, the attacker is stunned instead for 3 seconds. The shield will go into cooldown for 8 seconds if the defender is inflicted with either poison or incinerate. While this cooldown is active, the attacker gains 40% attack rating. Just bring someone who can either poison or incinerate. I know that some of these champions look like are poison immune, but they're not all incinerate immune or poison immune. Yeah. Man, that looks fairly straightforward. So far, what I can say about Act 6.4, I know there's something tricky in here. I haven't found it just yet. 6.4.1, that first quest, had a couple. There's 2 paths in there that look a little vindictive, a little vicious, but really, let's keep finding it, man. I'm trying to find the stuff that is truly tricky. I can tell already that these local nodes are going to be not as bad as the previous ones. Yeah. These local nodes are just making these champions extra versions of themselves. Okay, so you need a poison immune. You cannot rely on using heavy and kinetic transference. Whoop. Blocked attacks cause the defender to gain 10% power. Okay, so this cable is going to be a little pain. Every time they touch you, they gain a little bit of power. The Nick Fury was going to be tough. But really, I mean, other than that, it's straightforward. I bring in a poison immune to champ and try not to rely on heavies. Okay, moving right along. Honestly, I don't see anything that's too crazy. Spite is one of my least favorite nodes ever. Spite is absolutely a pain. If you have some of your top champions all rely on buff, and then you really gotta watch out for your dexterity. You can have power floods everywhere. Stun immunity and spite. Okay, the local nodes have changed here on this bottom one. Looks like toxic behavior. I mean, they all are extra versions of themselves, except I saw that cornered. I saw cornered as one of the local nodes, so that makes me want to check the rest of these real quick. Because if that's true, if they're changing up, if they're putting something that should be on the link node as a local node, like a cornered or a bleed 100%, you want to know about that stuff before you go into the fight. But it looks like it's just this. They just did that to this one champ. So don't go in there with damage over time effects. Okay. Let's start from the top. This seems to be having quite a bit of stuff in here. This Darkhawk is a little stacked. Raptor upgrades. Oh, so he's gonna start the fight in null mode, and while he's in null mode, he is completely unblockable. So you have to intercept right away. You can't change his ability accuracy. Hurt locker. That means you have to. If you use a special 1, you got to use a special 2 the next time. Otherwise, you get a 5-second countdown, and then you take a bunch of damage. And in that 5 seconds, if you don't throw a heavy, you'll take that damage. If you do throw a heavy, it'll remove that countdown. But trial by fire, that's where if you don't, it's like brute force. But if you don't hit the 6 seconds, if you don't hit the defender, you'll get a incinerate debuff. Yeah, that's crazy. Power efficiency, so he's gonna be throwing a lot more specials. You cannot change his healing at all, and then he has spiked armor. Okay. Now that I've read it all out loud, I would bring an Incinerate Immune Champion, which there are quite a few of them these days. One that doesn't mess with any of his healing. So if you have Despair and you're using like Sunspot and you're putting a lot of debuffs on him, and you're gonna start messing with his healing, that's not gonna work too well for you. Raptor upgrades. The only thing that really concerns me is null mode and then being completely unblockable. It says, additionally, while in null mode, Darkhawk's light and medium attacks are unblockable. So that's every punch he throws is going to be unblockable. And you can't block heavy attacks, so everything's unblockable except for his specials, which who is going to try to block a special anyways? It's not going to do anything. Okay, unless you're Sunspot and you're trying to take 0 hit damage on a perfect parry. Let me write that down. 6.4.3. My handy dandy Act 6.4 Node Notes book. That Darkhawk boss seems like it's a little interesting. Okay. I want to Incinerate Immune. I'm on Incinerate Immune. And no heal block. Okay. Normally I wouldn't write it down, but since this is the beta, I'd write it down. Usually just I would check it out before and jump right into it. But I'm just curious, man. So we haven't seen anything totally out of the blue, totally new. I think so far Quest 1 has had the most new of any of these chapters ever. And the beta is over, I believe, in a couple of days, so I really wanted to get this done. I wanted to just take a look at everything, have it here, even if I wanted to watch back later for my own understanding of what I'm about to walk into. This will give us some time to think about it, man. If you're at this level, or you're going to be at this level, it's always fun to think about this. This is the RPG part of this game, you know? Okay. So far, we're going to go bottom left. We're going to go on half moon. We're going to go counterclockwise. No, we're going to go clockwise. Hey. Okay. I do not see any local nodes except for the Vision Arcus. So we're just going to tap on him. Oh. Okay. What are the local nodes? Energy Adoption and Do Not Go Gentle. And Electric Fluctuations 3. I don't do a lot of dungeons, so I know that these are dungeon nodes, but I'm not super familiar with them because dungeons is time consuming. Okay, the defender has a 50% chance to inflict the attacker with shock on contact. These effects will not trigger while the defender is suffering from a poison debuff. Defender also takes 100% reduced damage from shock effects and gains a regeneration buff, healing 1% of max health per second until the shock expires. Okay, so what? What? Wait, what? So he or she has a half a chance to inflict me with shock on contact. So every time he touches me, he could shock me, or she could shock me. These effects will not trigger while he or she is suffering from a poison debuff. So I have to poison them. Otherwise, the defender also takes 100% reduced damage from shock and gains a regeneration buff until the shock expires. So what do I do? I just poison them? So I have to use a poison champion. So maybe it's Dr. Voodoo the entire way. Or who else does poison damage? Ultron Prime does poison damage. So anyone who puts a poison, if you have an abomination. And then the Vision Arcus. Let me write that down. 6.4. Poison damage. So you're gonna want to rank up someone who can do some damage while they're poisoning. If you're planning on 100% exploring, and we are. EMP modification. Every time he uses a special attack, you end up getting a shock. Well, that's gonna be a whole bunch of fun now, isn't it? Now, how does that interact with the link node? Is Vision Argus, is he poison immune? Because if he is, yeah, you might end up having to deal with that. Vision Arcus might be interesting. Do not go to gentle. The attacker gains 1 charge from every 5 hits on their combo meter. When the defender receives damage from any source that would knock them out, and the attacker has 1 or more charges, the charge is consumed, and the attacker receives damage equal to the defender's attack. If the attacker intercepts, if I intercept the guy I'm fighting, 2 charges are removed with no penalty. Landing a heavy also removes up to 1 charges, no penalty. So, okay. So the whole fight you need to intercept in heavy and try not to have any charges, otherwise you will get hurt. Okay. Okay. Duration of the attacker's buffs is reduced by 5 seconds. If they're a robot, they suffer 70% reduced ability accuracy. So if you had an Ultron Prime, you would probably not be able to poison them nearly as often as you want to. Tricky, tricky. But yet nothing crazy. Just pretend. Plan on bringing someone who can do some poison damage. Okay. And these are pretty long paths. How about that? Okay. Path 2. Energy adoption of fire. The defender has a 50% chance to inflict the attacker with incinerate on contact, suffering from bleed. So it's the same thing as before, except now you want to bring a bleed champion. So if I'm on defensive ability accuracy is lowered by 80% while under the effects of incinerate. So if I'm incinerated, then they're, I don't know, they're not gonna. I have a lower ability accuracy. Icarus. Oh. Okay. Icarus is basically every time you parry them, they get a fury. Once they get to 8 furies, you get a degeneration. You remove it by landing a heavy. Huh. Okay, bring a bleed champ and make sure you use your heavies. Interesting. Okay, and then of course they put a wasp here. Rage, boof, and aggressive. I bet with this you could parry heavy, parry heavy into oblivion with Blade. I bet Blade is going to take care of most of this path. I don't see anything that is telling me otherwise, except you have some nice evade champs, but still, it's just Blade until infinity. Because once you parry, they're going to have a debuff. None of them have Limber that I saw. I don't see. There's no local nodes, so you can just parry a few times, get those bleeds up, and then heavy, and call it a day. And that doesn't seem too crazy either. Okay. It is getting a little bit more hard. So, perfect. More of this. Except now this one is 50% chance to be inflicted with Cold Snap. They need to be suffering from an armor break debuff. If you have a Medusa, happy days. Okay, the defender takes 100% less damage while they have less than 3 debuffs applied to them. These debuffs can be of the same type. So, Medusa all the way. Or anyone who can stack armor debuffs. Armor breaks. Whoops. Or stack armor breaks and then do bleed debuffs. So, even more, just get after it with a Medusa-like champion. Okay. You want to armor break all these guys too. That rogue will be tricky because she'll shrug it off. Other than that, the Yondu could be a little difficult. He doesn't like to be parried very often. And then you're just gonna have to throw your specials more often. Not bad. Do not want to go to the unit store. That was my bad. Okay, moving right along. This is pretty cool. This really tests your roster for damage over time. Sorry, this is all talking and no... This is all talking and no fighting. I am sorry. This is a limber path. Excellent. You have 5 parries and they are unparryable. Almost. Well, they're parry, but they're unstunnable. Okay. Personal space. While the attacker is close to the defender gains a fury buff every 3 seconds, increasing their attack by 10% permanently. Staying away from the defender causes these furious effects to gradually fall off. Kind of like long-distance relationship. And then oscillate. Okay. Don't get hit. Bring an evade champ. Bring an armor break champ. And bring someone who can deal with definitely someone who can deal with evade, someone who can deal with those 2 techs or 3 techs, and then someone who can deal with Invisible Woman and Ebony Maw. That is a pretty straightforward lane. Alright, 2 lanes left. You know, I like that it's not that it is going this way. I like that it's going this way. Hurt Locker. Use a different special. If you use 2 same specials in a row, you end up having a 5-second timer on you. You have to use a heavy in that time to remove that timer, otherwise you take a bunch of damage. Power Struggle. You can't gain power other than... which one is this? Oh, you cannot gain a bar of power or any power until they throw a special. So that's pretty easy. And then Footloose. They become unstoppable and they have a chance to evade every time they throw a special. If you have somebody like She-Hulk or Captain America Infinity War, or you can even bring an evade champ, you should be fine. Yeah. Captain America is probably going to do wonders on this path. And then you have a little Ronin. This Ronin is not a very difficult a defender anyways. Okay. And then basically that node said do not bring a robot chimp because you will be incinerated for most of your health. And then finally this last path, Matador. So every time they throw... Oh, okay. So the previous one was every time the defender gained a bar of power, you got 1. This one is every time they throw a special, you gain a bar of power. Typhoon. The Typhoon one, I think... I still don't totally understand it. It seems like every time they throw a special, you lose power. Special Chaos Inversion. The attackers dash and dodge. Okay, so this is like fighting Emma Frost with no specials the whole path. If that puts it in perspective to you, because your dash and dodge are reversed, you're gonna have a difficult time throwing specials. So that's how I would plan on doing this one. This doesn't really look like you just have a Mephisto. It doesn't really look like anything crazy here. Okay, let's take a look at the boss real quick, and it is Captain Marvel Movies. You want to stay close. You want to play aggressively. Watch out for her heavies, because you cannot stop that. Yeah, okay. This is a very straightforward Captain Marvel. Reading through all of these local nodes, it's a close encounter. It's Captain Marvel's fight. She probably has 500,000 health. Stay close. Be aggressive. Watch out for the heavies. Realize that she's going to start getting those energy charges, so she can be in binary pretty quickly. But man, stay close. You can use anybody. Very cool. Okay, so That was a Captain Marvel boss. Where are we at? We're at 6.4.5? Yes. Okay, so what I can say so far is that Quest 2, 3, and 4, the only notes I have are for the Darkhawk boss on Quest 3, bring an Incinerate, Immune Champion, no heal block or heal reversal. And that's it. That's it. That's the only note I have about the whole about this whole thing so far, and we've gone through half of it. All right, let's do this again. We've done 6.1 in a previous live stream, so we're going to do 6.4 and 6.5. Just to reiterate, we aren't really fighting right now. We're just taking an overall look at all the local nodes, all the link nodes, and seeing if there's anything new, anything crazy, anything that looks insane. Maybe tomorrow, before the beta runs out, we'll actually fight through it and try to test it out. But so far, what I can say, everything looks straightforward. Just the first quest has some interesting paths, but that's the only like BS I've seen is in Quest 1. Quest 2 through 4 so far have been really lackluster, which is good. You want it to be that way. You want it to be pretty painless. Okay. Doesn't it look like a mushroom from Mario? Or, okay. I wasn't gonna say anything, but... So if I go to the left, it'll give me the option to go up and down. Let's go to the hood first. I want to see what that's linked from. It's linked from Domino. So obviously that is... Okay. Okay, this hood is part of this path. You go to your left, then you go up to hood, then you hit that transport and it brings you down to fight Howard the Duck, Punisher, Joe Fixit, Massacre, Cable, Nick Fury, Punisher 2099, and then Domino. And what is this? Pull. Projectile base attacks deal 100% more damage. Non-projectile deal 75% less damage. Okay. Selective time stream. Every 20 seconds, the defender's health is instantly restored to full, and any debuffs on them are removed. This cannot be prevented with ability accuracy reduction. Incinerate and shock debuffs prevent this regeneration. We fought a Kang like this not that long ago. Sunspot would probably be amazing for this fight. Flux dispersal. Each time the defender is struck, they gain a dispersal charge, which reduces all damage taken from hits by 5%. Being struck by a heavy removes all charges. So you're going to want to plan on using your heavies. Plan on incinerating them the whole time. And use a projectile-based attack. You know that Havoc... So I brought Havoc to a Daredevil fight, Daredevil classic fight, and he started evading like crazy. I didn't realize that Havoc's mediums are basically are considered projectile, because OG Daredevil, he evades all at 100% sigged up. He evades all projectiles. Unfortunately, that strategy is not going to work because they need to have an incinerate debuff on them. So Crossbones, because he pulls out the old Mossberg and he inflicts an incinerate debuff. Sunspot does an incinerate damage. Who else? Probably Mephisto would be okay. You know what? This is one node we're gonna try out, so we're gonna write that down. We're gonna try tomorrow. We're gonna try it out. 6.5. Pull Mephisto. Because when you look at a piece of content that you want to explore 100%, as you go throughout Act 1, 2, 3, 4, and really Act 1 through 3, there's nothing you really need to plan for. It's all, I think for the most, I don't even know if there's local nodes or link nodes. For the most part, it's straightforward. So it's just building your roster. Once you get to Act 4, you know, they'll have different paths that are, one's an evade path, one is this and that, and then you need to start building your roster based on utility champs that, you know, and based on what you're gonna face, and use your champions as tools to face those things. When it gets to Act 6, all the way at the end here, man, you need a pretty crazy roster. Okay, so we're gonna go clockwise around the ways to take a path. So I'm assuming this is the same. We're gonna get to the Doctor Strange, pop over to 6, and take the Psylocke, Venom the Duck, Scarlet Witch, Mephisto, Mr. Sinister, and so on and so forth, ending in Hyperion. The link nodes are Prey on the Weak. The defender gains 12% of max power each time a buff is nullified. I bet you're fighting a Symbiote Supreme. Oh, no. I bet they had a Symbiote Supreme on here, and that was just not okay. Power struggle. Aspect of evolution. Dexterity is going to give them a lot of power, but other than that, who else has power gain? Yeah. Mephisto has power gain. So doesn't Namor, a little bit. Vision Arcus does. I'm still not totally set on fighting him. And then Hyperion, of course, he has power gain. So maybe just bring a power control champ. Okay. Straightforward. Moving right on. Not a problem. We're just going to move right along because that just seems like you're going to be struggling to control power. Okay, we're going to do the Darkhawk path. What are the local nodes? Lionheart. Lionheart basically is, if you try to heal block, heal reverse, it's gonna not work for you. They're gonna end up gaining a ton of power and health anyways. Arc overload, that means they're gonna gain a lot of power. And mirror image, they're gonna, all of your buffs they're gonna replicate. So out damage, man. Out damage all of these champs. That's what I'm seeing. I see a lot of regen champs. These are going to be long fights, but fairly straightforward. I'm still not familiar with Guillotine 2099. Wow, see how it's orange around her? That looks like a local node. That should be a local node. There's something funny there. So there's orange around her profile picture, showing that there's a local node, but it's not popping up. Okay. That's gonna sting. Okay, so moving on to the next path. That's gonna sting. The defender takes 90% reduced damage from all sources unless suffering from a power sting effect. Oof. Additionally, the potency of the attacker's power sting are increased by 300%. So if you have a Venom, you're in luck. And I just happened to pull a 6-star Venom yesterday. Go figure. Whenever you gain a bar of power, you are inflicted by a power sting. So whenever you gain a bar of power, you can't throw a special for 6 seconds. And then if you're using, say, Yellow Jacket, you're going to throw your special, they get a power sting, and then you better do all your damage then. So it's just going to be slow fights. Nothing crazy, just slow fights. Okay. Moving on to the next path. Like I said, we're doing quick looks. Before I get too cocky, I just want to make sure that there's nothing. I can't think of anything that is going to prevent you and be a major roadblock. I'm looking for roadblocks. Of course, this is going to be a tough path. If I was trying to do a 1 through initial clear, I wouldn't do it this way. No way. I wouldn't do this. This is going to be a pain in the butt. Okay. Next path. Drop down to this Daredevil path and Stealth Spidey. Okay. Ghast, Spry, and Mixmaster. So they're going to evade a lot more. When they do, it's going to hurt you. And you can't use the same move twice. So how I'd get through all of this is I would bring whatever evade counter I have. My favorite is Emma Frost. She's more reliable than Iceman because you can. How I'm gonna get through all this, I'll let you know right now. Simple. I'm gonna say I fight Daredevil. I'm gonna parry heavy. Then I'm gonna parry heavy again, and then I'm gonna parry heavy again until I have more power than he does. I'm never gonna throw a special, and I'm just gonna parry and do a 5-hit combo into Oblivion, bait all of his specials out, and that's it. He's never going to evade me, and I'm not going to have to worry about it. And that'll work for... This would be my initial clear. Yep, this is going to be my initial clear. I'm going to bring my evade champions and call that a day. That is an easy path right there. Okay, the next path, we have 2 left. No, we already did. We have 1 left. Okay. It's the Civil Warrior. Masochism and Vivified. Defender has 200% defense power gain. Cannot be affected by power drain, power steal, power burn. Okay. Wow. You could use power drain, power steal, power burn, but it doesn't say power lock. So you can power lock into infinity, so magic, or you could probably rely on your despair masteries and bring void. Anybody who does a ton of debuffs, because I think power gain is also affected by despair. Say you brought Sunspot and you had 10 incinerate debuffs, and you had 3 out of 3 unlocked in despair. That's 15%. So despair is basically 15. If you have 3 out of 3, it's for every debuff. That's 15% reducing and healing and regeneration. But I also think that somehow covers power gain as well. And if you have 10 of them, that's 150%. So these, if that's true, you can use Void. You can use anyone who creates a ton of debuffs. You can use Captain America, Infinity War, and pretty much power lock these guys into infinity. You can also just use a power lock champion like Dr. Octopus or Magic, which is everyone's #1 favorite. Okay. That's certainly doable, unless there's a complete roadblock. Let's look for roadblocks. I need to do a better job at that. I don't see anything. Nobody's shrugging off anything except maybe Elsa. Does Elsa shrug off debuffs like Crossbones? Crossbones and Agent Venom would be a freaking nightmare. Okay. Now the boss. Armor break immunity, limber, vigor, matador, unblockable, force of will. Huh. What is vigor again? Every 15 seconds at the start of the fight, the defender regenerates 50% base health. Over 5 seconds, the timer refreshes and the defender reaches intervals of 25% missing health. You could instantly heal block with Doc Ock and completely bypass that. Armor break immune, limber, so your parries are limited. All of his special attacks are unblockable. If you have Blade and Ghost Rider, you're set. If you have Blade and Ghost Rider, you're set. You could probably outdamage him, no problem. Force of Will doesn't matter. This is a matter of damage. This guy evades. He has really crazy specials that are a pain, and he's generally, every time we faced him, he's been a difficult defender. But the only thing there's no roadblock here. He has limber, and he's gonna really kind of stagger your specials. You're only gonna gain a bar of power whenever he throws a special. But if you're playing really aggressively and laying into this dude, you're gonna get specials like crazy. So yeah, that's it. Moving on. What's up, Black Fang? How you doing? I have not seen that video. No. My thoughts so far on this is that the only thing that was 6.4.5. We've done the first 5 chapters so far. Chapter 1 has some interesting stuff, and before we get off, we're going to go take another look at that again. But really, this is seeming to be pretty straightforward. Basically, it's been about an hour we've been doing this. We've been going through the chapters and the nodes, just talking about it, not fighting at all. I thank you guys for watching. I haven't done a single fight except I started the stream with an Alliance War fight. But I just wanted to go through all of the nodes, read through everything, see if there's any crazy roadblocks or anything totally nuts. It seems like every chapter has 6 paths. It's all been straightforward. You know, you obviously have to plan. My assumption is that at this point, if you're coming through Act 6, you are fairly familiar with all of these nodes that have been introduced through dungeons and stuff like that. So I am just trying to scan for roadblocks, read through, make sure there isn't, check out all the new stuff, and then see if there's anything crazy. And there is something crazy. It's in the first quest. The first quest is nuts. Okay. This looks like... How many paths do we have to do in this last section? This is another 6 path one. The Darkhawk, is it a Darkhawk boss? So the only thing I wrote down for the Darkhawk boss is bring an Incinerate, Immune Champ, and no heal block. We're actually gonna test out some of this stuff. There's a few things I want to check. We'll do that for sure. It seems to be one of the only nodes that I've written down. Other than 6.5, the pull, I wanted to test out Mephisto. The pull linked node. Okay. We're going to start to the right of ourselves here. We're going to go to Phoenix, and we're going to do clockwise around the map, path by path. There's 6 paths. No local nodes, all linked nodes. Okay. Buff duration, tenacity 3. So they'll shrug off your debuffs. They gain a lot of attack and a lot of health. So this kind of looks like 600% health plus 300% health. This looks on top of the there's no global. Okay. The global nodes for all the previous paths have been having these bottom 4 nodes as part of global. If this was linked and global, this would be a labyrinth fight. Because these 4 nodes, the champion boost, the health and attack, put it at like a 12,000 health and 12,000 attack and 500,000 health. So we're good there. They don't take debuffs very well, and they're gonna have more attack, which makes sense because it's a cosmic path. So Okay. I thought they were going to break it up by class. This is not a cosmic path. No global, no local. Life cycle, you have to knock them down. Rage, ugh. Rage is a tough node for me to fight against. Champion boost and soft guard. Life cycle, you have to knock them down. There's no limber, so you'll be able to parry heavy or use a special and knock them down. And gain that half-second window every time you knock them down. That's no problem. Rage, bring a nullify. How I fight that is nullify. Dr. Voodoo works wonders. Symbiote Supreme works wonders. The new Clairvoyant also would, I'm assuming, would be amazing. Okay. Here we go. Black Panther Civil Warrior. Yeah, I don't know. That seemed pretty straightforward. It's a pain. No one likes fighting on a rage node. Okay, Aggression Fury. If you don't hit them, they gain more attack. Bane. You gotta mess around with Bane and Dismay. Very straightforward. These are all timing fights. So you have the Bane timer, and then you have the Aggression regen. Aggression Fury. Basically, regular fight. Just watch out for Bane and don't get hit, because once you get hit, you have Dismay, and that'll cause you a bunch of damage over time. Okay. Power Drain, Masochism, Overreach. So if they have Fury, more than 2 Fury buffs, on this Overreach node, they will accumulate more power over time. Power Drain and Masochism, but who is a Fury champion? Wait, am I reading this right? While the attacker has 2 or more Fury buffs, the defender slowly accumulates. Oh, while you have two or more Fury buffs. Don't bring in a Fury champion. I see a lot of villains, and I see a mutant and a couple of techs. Bring Blade and Corvus, and you're good to go. Okay. 2 more paths left. Going to the Doctor Strange. Polka Dot Power. The attacker gains no power naturally. Instead, they are granted 12% of borrowed power per second, while the defender is suffering from a damaging debuff. There's that rage one again. Not a fan of it. Damaging debuff. Rage, backblast. Okay, so backblast. You can't exceed 5% of their max health. But at 500,000, man, your crit can't be more than 50,000. So, unless they really lower the health pool for this, but I don't think so. Because there's that plus 900% health. You should be fine. If you crit 4 times in a row, like you're using Corvus, or you get unlucky, in this case unlucky, with 4 crits in a row, then you receive some damage. Other than that, I really wouldn't worry about that too much. Rage, I'd bring a Nullified Champion, and Polka Dot Power, I would bring... Dr. Voodoo seems to be amazing from this, because you can poison them, give the damage over time. This way you gain power. And then you can also throw your special 2 and power control and just go back and forth between the 2 of them and call it a day on these champs. Havoc is going to be a tough fight. Mr. Sinister will be difficult unless you have the power under control. Who's poison immune? Is Human Torch poison immune? If he's not, then I think Dr. Voodoo could be your one-stop solution for that. Okay, and then the last path is this Rogue, Ebony Maw, Morning Star, so on and so forth. Mesmerize. They have a 7% chance to evade and leave you stunned. Redoubled determination for each debuff. They gain more attack and power rate. And then when they can remove your buff and gain some health. And I think power. Yes. I would bring... Let's see. I would bring an evade champ, an evade counter, and make my way through these pretty straightforward fights. I would bring an evade counter that oh, that's a bad one to pick. I would bring an evade counter that doesn't rely on buffs, so like an Emma Frost, and doesn't rely on debuffs, like an Emma Frost, unlike Iceman. And then right here is where we're supposed to fight, supposedly, the Grandmaster. And it won't let me click on him as a 1-star symbiote. There are videos out there in the community. There are some write-ups in the community about the Grandmaster boss. I'm not going to speculate on it too much. You're going to have to fight him 6 times. If history proves itself again in Marvel Contest of Champions, it's going to be a tough fight. We've had some bosses where there are several phases. This one seems like it's going to be a several phase boss. With the release of the Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, we had the Nameless Thanos, where both of times they had several different phases. I think the first time he had 3 phases, and the second time he had 4 phases. And it's a struggle, man. So it looks like in 6.4.6, the last quest of all of Act 6, you're going to have to bring maybe 1 champion per path, maybe 2. You might not be able to afford to bring more than 1 champion for the entire path, and then have the other 4 or 3 lined up for whatever the Grandmaster is. There are a few people in beta right now. They're under NDA that are testing. Supposedly, this is all supposedly, the rumors going around the community that are testing Grandmaster. Hopefully, the developers will give us some sort of more unique challenge, man. Because I didn't like the Nameless Thanos fight. I don't like the 6.2 what's his name? Champion fight. Man, that was so brutal. I have a video when it was bugged, and it was the most frustrating thing ever. Really, I hope they have something interesting. And honestly, I wish that there was you just fought him once. They either made it really difficult, really long, or they made like 3 different fights of him, but you only had to do it once. It's 1 lane, and they got it done that way, instead of having to fight this guy 6 times. I can't believe I still have to fight the champion boss in 6.2 9 more times, man. That's crazy. I don't want to do it. That fight is not fun. And I play this game to have fun, really. So, with that being said, maybe they can do... sectioned, part 1, and you plan all 3 phases out. They do like a 3-phase fight, or they do a randomized fight, or I don't know, man. I'm interested to see how it turned out, but if history proves itself to be right again, we're going to be fighting a multi-phase Grandmaster boss. That's going to be really hard. You're going to have to plan for it. You're going to probably only be allowed to bring that 1 counter for each 6 path, each of the 6 paths. Like the evade path, you bring your 1 evade champ, and the other 4 people on your roster are all dedicated to the Grandmaster fight, and I hope that Grandmaster fight isn't a complete cash grab. Because that's what happens when it becomes so insane. It becomes a cash grab for most people. It would be cool if they did this. It would be very cool, and this is going to be unpopular, if they made that fight. You had to do it in one shot. You had to one shot the final boss. If not, you lose. Okay, and you can use any champion. You can use any champion. Bring your best champion. One shot at one go. Maybe they do this. They make it no paths. You only have to fight the Grandmaster one time, but you can only have one person on your team, and you bring that person into the quest. You fight the Grandmaster. You have to one-shot him, and they make it really hard. They make it really hard, and you can't revive up, because every time you die, he goes back to full health. So you'd have to revive and heal up. So you might as well restart the whole quest. You have to one-shot him. No items. That would be really cool. I would love that. Because then it would really feel like you're fighting the boss wholeheartedly. This is it, man. This is the guy you gotta fight. This is the ruler of the contest now, and you're gonna go bring him down. You're gonna bring your best. That would be awesome. Okay, so before we take off, I have to run here shortly. I just wanted to, for the sake of this video, I know it says beta and stuff, but I really should have said, let's explore all the link nodes, all the local nodes, all the globals, which there are none, and plan to 100% this Bad Larry right now. Okay, we're going to start here on the bottom left, and we're going to go clockwise all the way up. So, here we go. Global is everything that we've seen so far. This one I know is a little tough. Vigorous Assault. Sorry, I have to read it because there's so many nodes that I can't remember them all. While the Defender has a regen buff active, they gain 65% attack, and their attacks become unblockable. Perfect. Anytime the attacker triggers a regen or passive effect, the defender gains 100% health of the health the attacker gains from that buff or passive effect. So whenever you regen, they regen. And whenever they regen, they're unblockable. Whenever the attacker is not under a effective regen, the defender gains 1 fury every 1 second. Each fury increases the defender attack by 50%, and they are all removed if the defender gains a regeneration buff. Buh. Okay. So what this all means is that when they regen, they get a bunch of attack, extra attack, and they're unblockable completely. Whenever we gain a regeneration, they also gain the regeneration. And then, while we're not regenning, they gain a passive fury, and then they get more attack until they get a regen, and then all of that is removed. So it's just a giant crap cycle. Dang. Okay, Angela pretty much regens the entire fight, so she's going to spend the entire fight unblockable. Some of these guys who only regen at certain points are going to spend a lot of time gaining a lot of fury and becoming really, really hard-hitting. Wow. Namor is going to be a pain. This Sentinel is going to hit like a truck. He's going to hit like a freaking freight train. If you take a blocked hit, it's going to destroy you. Like from the L1, just because he's not going to regen hardly ever. He's just going to gain fury the entire fight. What's the Does anyone remember what the node was where pretty much over time they get more attack, and so it gets to a point where even a parry you gain like 2,000, you take like 2,000 damage. That's pretty much what this is gonna be, except once they start regenerating, they're gonna be able to, you can't parry, so it's gonna be interesting. Alright, let's go to the next one. Yeah, I agree. I wish I could just hop to any fight, but I need to have a little bit more of an understanding. There are so many fights in this. There are only 6 paths, but there are still a lot of fights. There's probably roughly around 10 fights per path, give or take. You know, between 10 and 15. Times that by 60, 6 paths. That's 60 fights. Plus fighting the boss 6 times. That's 66. Times all 6 quests. How much is that? It's like, that's almost 400 fights to 100% this whole thing. Which is not bad, because 6.2 is crazy with 10 paths. And Act 4 is ridiculously long, and Act 5, so this is normal. So this is the one where I think is crazy. Do you bleed and redouble determination? For each debuff they receive, they gain more attack and more power. They only take damage if from bleed, and they have true strike, which is pretty much meaningless, but you have to bleed them to do damage, and they get a lot more power. So you could pretty much parry to infinity, right? With blade. With blade, you can pretty much parry to infinity and beyond, unless when you parry and they start bleeding, do they gain a lot of power? If they do, that's not going to work. That's not going to be a strategy. Yeah. Huh. Okay. I think. Alright, if I don't have Blade, say I have X23, I'm just going to be playing this regular. So that's not a crazy thing. This path that we actually did live was, if you play regularly, if you play aggressively, you gain an Incinerate debuff. If you play defensively, you gain a Cold Snap debuff. And then whenever you get a regen, the defender regens, and the ability accuracy is lowered if you are incinerated. But if you use someone like Colossus, who is Incinerate immune and Cold Snap immune, you're fine. Basically, this is a short and easy, quick path. Or if you have someone who's Incinerate immune, just play really aggressively and you don't even have to worry about this. Watch your parries and you're fine. Bane, Power Shield, and Limber. This is all straightforward. Watch your parries, you only have 5. Watch the timing for Bane, and just play regular. Throw your specials like regular. There's no local nodes, so that's all gravy, as they say. Okay, one of these last two are pretty nuts. Colorblind. For each of the champions of the same class in the attacker's team, they suffer a degeneration of 25% of their max health over 15 seconds at the start of the fight. So if you bring 2 Czech champions on your attack team, you're going to suffer 25% degen damage, which is unavoidable. I guess unless you have Gladiator Hope. If you bring 3 tech champions, that's half your health gone immediately. So watch out for that. Have a stacked roster of all the colors. All the different classes. Gimme. Whenever the attacker regenerates health, the defender is dealt direct damage equal to 4% of the health gained, but the defender takes 75% less damage from all other sources, and is immune to damage over time debuffs. And then power gain by 200 is never any fun at all. Well, it seems like you could power lock. Seems like you could power lock into infinity. Make sure you bring one of each class on your team, or you could just, do the parry and so on with the blade tactic, or you could just straight up go ahead and bring a crazy. Actually, why would you do that? It's not a damage over time. He's immune to damage over time. No, you could just bring a crazy regen. X23, Sabretooth. If you get hit, you constantly regenning. I think that is also affected by the salve and willpower. So if you have suicides, you're going to be doing damage like crazy. So this one is bio. I always call it Bioshock, but it's biohazard. So you get a bleed debuff when you hit into the champion, and then you hit into their block, you get a poison. If you're a robot, instead of a poison, you get a shock. So don't hit into their block. And then tunnel vision. Wherever the attacker performs the same as action twice in a row. So I thought that was really crazy. I thought that was going to be a nutty one, but I don't think so. The Agent Venom is going to be a little tough. Juggernaut's going to be hard, probably. I mean, they're all hard fights, but Agent Venom's going to be tough because you have to watch out for throwing the same attack twice. Okay. I don't know. I don't see any roadblocks. I thought the first time we did this, perspective is everything. The first time we took a look at this, I thought that some of these were a little crazier than they actually are. Maybe it's changed since day one. Maybe they've come in and changed some stuff around. I don't know. The Iceman boss is stun immune. Has a little damage cap. He will do more cold snap damage, and you will only gain a special when he throws a special. Pretty straightforward for Act 6, I would say. Before I take off, Black Fang, let's take a quick look at this Dark Hawk again. Now that you brought it up, and people are saying that it seems to be a super cash grab fight, let's take a look at it. Where are you, my friend? Where you at? Okay. There it is. Sorry about that. Weird maze pattern. Okay. Raptor upgrades. Upgrade to... Oh, yeah. Okay. It's all coming back to me now. He starts the fight in null mode. And then while in null mode, he's completely unblockable. So you have to intercept. Does he have an auto block? Usually when I fight, it's hard. The further into endgame you get, fighting a Darkhawk in Alliance War and Alliance Quest and things like that, generally you don't fight a stacked enough defender, whether it's Darkhawk or any of these new people, even on Uncollected. Uncollected is really the only experience where I have to really think about how I'm going to get it down, but when you're bringing a 565 any champion to a defender in Alliance War, Alliance Quest, unless it's the boss, I mean, you're really not thinking about it too much because you're doing so much damage that unless it's a complete roadblock situation, you know, I don't. So in other words, to make a long story short, I'm not totally up on what Darkhawk's null mode is because I don't have him. And every time I fight him, I don't even think about it. So you have to play aggressively, because otherwise you'll get an incinerate. He's gonna throw specials a lot, which is a pain in the butt. You can't mess around with his healing. There's spiked armor. 6% of his attack. So if he has say he has 20,000, 20,000. Jeez. I mean, most of these guys have had like a 12,000 attack rating. 1% of that is 100, right? 10% would be 1,000. So it'd be 6% of a 12,000 attack rating would be, you'd be taking roughly 7.2, so 720. Okay, sorry, that it's been a long day. 720 damage back from spiked armor whenever you hit him. If he's 12,000, he's probably more. So you could probably figure about 1,000. He's probably have a higher attack rating because he's a boss. You could probably figure you're going to take 1,000 damage from spiked armor. That cannot be changed. So Black Widow or someone like that who would change the defense ability accuracy, like completely bypass that. That is shut down because of force of will. Gotta throw different special. Play aggressively. Can't mess with his healing. So when he throws a special too, you cannot block that, which is fine. He's gonna throw a ton of specials, which will mess up the timing for playing aggressively. And then whenever he's in null mode, that's it. I need to find out what null mode is before I can speak on this fully intelligently. I can't remember. I know what shield mode is. I want this guy. And I really, really wanted this guy before, what's his name came out. Before Warlock came out. Now that Warlock's out, I'd rather have Warlock. Shield mode, stealth mode, and null mode. So stealth mode, it comes after a special too. Right? Enter stealth mode. After a special 3, he enters null mode. He's always going to start the fight in null mode. But as soon as he throws a special... So he's probably going to honestly spam special 1 a lot. And if Dark Hawk is in null mode... This will deal a lot of damage and it'll be unblockable. Actually, it won't be unblockable. Just his medium and light attacks. But if you want to get him out of null mode, you're going to have to intercept. And then he'll be in stealth mode, which is a giant pain. And he's going to regen. Probably how I will initially clear this guy. Corvus. Medusa is probably another good counter. Thor might be a good counter. I mean, honestly, I bet you could use any champion. I would, if you have Corvus, I'd bring Corvus, either a 5 or a 6 star, because you can start the fight. If you're going to revive your way through it, then that's fine. That's probably how you're going to have to do it. You have to rely on intercepts immediately. But if you're going to use any champion, it looks like you can use any champion you want. Start the fight. Rely on intercepts. If you don't push him to a special 2, He's going to constantly throw special ones. You can punish that and pretty much have a regular fight. You just need to rely on intercepting. I mean, this is an intercept fight. That's the only way you get him to not regen. Otherwise, you push him to a special 2. He's going to regen. He's going to be in stealth mode, and then you parry, and then do a 3-hit combo, and hopefully one of them hits. Parry, 3-hit combo, hopefully one of them hits. Then he's going to throw a special 2 again, and regen a bunch. And if you can out-damage his regen, that's the way to do it. But otherwise, I might just keep it to the special 1. Take a bunch of blocked hits. Bring a high block proficiency champion like Captain America, Sunspot, Symbiote Supreme, and take special 1s to my block and dive right in and try to intercept like crazy. Really practice intercepting. On live stream, I'll probably completely mess it up, and we're gonna do it all on live stream. But if you get in the zone and you can intercept like crazy, I think that's the only way. Am I missing anything? Otherwise, that's the only way you get through this Dark Hawk fight relatively revive free. Intercept like crazy. Bring a champion that can withstand time after time special 1s, which don't hit hard. And if you have Captain America, you'll build up kinetic charges, man, and you'll be able to keep your attack up. So that might be the way I would do it. Yeah, it seems cash grabby, but I think it's a really high skill boss fight. We're gonna try it tomorrow. We might try it multiple times. It seems like a really high skill boss fight. Fortunately, we have all the revives in the world, so we're probably gonna die a lot. We're gonna revive a lot. It's not gonna be. I'm not gonna play like it really counts, because it's not taken away from my units in real life. I mean, as a beta, we're gonna test this out. This is probably a fight we're gonna focus on. All the other boss fights, I'd like to try to do a once through everything. I don't know if I'm gonna have time for that, but this is the only real note that I have about Act 6. We just spent an hour and a half going through all the nodes, all the link nodes, local nodes, global, everything. All the bosses, looking for roadblocks, and honestly, this is the only one that I see possibly there being a crazy issue with. The other bosses are pretty straightforward, and that's excluding, of course, the final Grandmaster fight, which is not included in the beta that I'm in. So tomorrow, let's test it, and then I think what's gonna happen next is I want to do another stream like this and go through 6.3 and really dive into all the nodes, take a look at the different boosts, the class boosts that they have, and start coming up with a game plan, because with the gifting thing, I just exchanged a bunch of revives. I have 2 weeks until they expire. I'd like to make the best of them, and and we're going to get into 6.3 the same way we did this. I did the once through in 6.3. Let me tell you, some of those bosses were not fun. So we're going to rank up for some better counters for those bosses. And yeah, man, we're going to have some fun. So, alright guys, well, I am going to wrap it up for this evening. It's time for me to go have some dinner. I hope you all had a good Thursday, and I will catch you tomorrow. Bye.